Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another new edition of Africa Today, where we get you the latest news and events taking place on the African scene. And we will start off with our major top stories and reports. Egypt has announced the completion of the concrete work of the iconic tower skyscraper, the tallest tower in Africa, in the new administrative capital. More details.
According to a statement by the Ministry of Housing, Egypt has completed the first phase of constructing the tallest town in the whole African continent. The ministry said that all concrete works for the iconic tower in the central business district of the new administrative capital ended. The 78-story tower is 378 meters in height and is built on an area of 268,000 square meters at a cost of $3 billion in investments. Officials participated in the ceremony pouring the last meter of concrete into the tower. The Egyptian director of the project, Ahmed al-Banna, said that the first phase of the project consumed more than 800 continuous work days, noting that the concrete works were carried out in 4 stages. The metal structure of Africa's tallest tower at the new administrative capital started in November 2019.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and we're glad to be joined over the phone by Dr. Raouf Gaafar, political analyst. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, my dear.
Dr. Raouf, Egypt has completed the first phase of constructing the tallest tower in Africa, in the whole African continent. Would you please tell us more about the latest developments concerning construction work in the new administrative capital?
I mean, the pace of execution is really formidable. I mean, very quickly, full of records, I should say, as far as time is concerned, as far as height is concerned. Beautiful work, beautiful job, and the amount of, I mean, if you go and then another visit after 3 or 4 months, you can't believe the amount of work that has been executed over this short period of time. So you mentioned about the iconic tower, the highest in Africa, as I understand, as we heard.
The skyscraper.
But again, it is surrounded by a lot of high-rise buildings and towers. I mean, the project of the new administrative is a role model of will and determination, both for the leadership of Egypt and for the people of Egypt. So it is a great project, and I think it was considered as one of the biggest projects in the world in the last 2 years.
Yes. Well, sir, how could such projects boost the economy, and what are their impact, in your opinion, on the Egyptian economy?
First of all, the idea of having smart cities. This, I mean, it's all over the world now.
Yes.
The trend is to be environment friendly and to build smart cities where technology should be at its best. So it is, first of all, equipped with all the infrastructure that makes it comparable to any big new city in the world. And we are not stopping at this new administrative capital, but all the new cities that are being in the process of execution now, like the new Alamein city, like El Galala and others, are all following the same path. Smart cities, very modernized. And of course this attracts investors, direct investments and indirect investments to come and work in Egypt, invest in Egypt, and this is the future. Not only smart cities, but again, they are linked together by a very sophisticated road network. They are what do you call it? Monorail, electric trains,
Yes.
railways. I mean, it's all interlinked between each other and linked to ports, so it can facilitate the production and transport and export of goods. I mean, from all sides, it represents, of course, a very big value added to the Egyptian economy. And this we will see in the very, very near future. That is why the pace of execution is very high, and our president and administration insist on finishing it on time and maybe earlier than the predicted time, so that we can benefit from the investments coming in such cities.
Well, these projects also had its positive impact on youth. How far do you think it offered job opportunities to the youth?
First of all mega projects by default employ a lot of people, and this represents, of course, business and employment opportunities for the youth.
Yes.
We've seen how employment rate came down. We have seen a lot of projects executed by young people. Egypt is full of young people. We have a very rich human resource that needs to be trained and educated, and they are very easily, can be very easily trained and educated, and offering them job opportunities, preventing them from leaving their country to go abroad, and creating new communities. I mean, of course, the young generation is more, I should say, courageous than old ones, so they don't mind moving into these new areas and build their own future and create their own community and help improve the economy of their country, of course.
Yes. How do you read, sir, the government plan to modernize the governmental system within the frame of Egypt's Vision 2030?
We are moving into numeral era, like everybody else, and we can notice that one domain after the other is being transformed smoothly according to a very thorough and well-studied plan. And of course, they will start by the new cities, etc. But again, the modernization and the digitalization and the transformation into numeral community is going ahead everywhere in Egypt. We can feel it in our daily lives. And I think that in a very short time, we will be very much we will be able to call ourselves in members of the numerical era and part of the numerical community worldwide. And this again is the future, and this is the idea of our leadership and our government to place us where we should be as far as the whole world is concerned.
Right. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Raouf Gaafar, political analyst. Many thanks for your insight. And the viewers, continuing with our special report, Sudan's military has announced plans to create a joint force to crack down on insecurity and assert the state's authority in the capital and nationwide as an economic crisis and regional tensions plague a fragile transition period. More details.
Sudan's military has announced plans to create a joint force to crack down on insecurity and assert the state's authority in the capital and nationwide as an economic crisis and regional tensions plague a fragile transition period. The announcement was made in order of the General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, deputy head of Sudan's ruling sovereign council. Dagalo, also known as Hemdeti, is head of the Rapid Support Forces, which will be part of the new force with the police, armed forces, General Intelligence Service, and representatives of the rebel groups and the public prosecutor. In a speech this week defending reforms meant to tackle a deep economic crisis and stabilize a political transition towards elections, Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdouk said that there was a danger of chaos or civil war fomented by loyalists of the previous leadership. The latest of those reforms was the removal of the fuel subsidies last week at a time when annual inflation has risen to 379%, causing a public outcry. Sudanese authorities have warned about gangs and criminal groups which they blame for disturbances in the capital Khartoum in recent days. Sudan's Darfur region has seen an uptick in deadly violence, as have the country's eastern region, since the installation of a military-civilian power-sharing government in mid-2019.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and still with our special reports. New data from the World Health Organization said that COVID-19 cases in Africa are surging by over 20% week on week. More details.
COVID-19 cases rose by over 20% week on week in nearly 24 African countries, and progress on vaccinating Africans is proceeding slowly, with just 0.79% of people on the continent fully vaccinated. WHO Regional Director for Africa told a news conference that Africa is in the midst of a full-blown third wave, and elsewhere, how quickly COVID-19 can rebound and overwhelm health systems. New cases are up nearly 30% in the past week, and deaths are up by 15%, with 5 countries, South Africa, Tunisia, Zambia, Uganda, and Namibia, accounting for 76% of the new cases. The continent of 1.3 billion people has not yet been battered with an emergency during the pandemic on the scale of that recently facing India, but officials, including the WHO, had continued to warn that such a catastrophe could hit. African nations lack sufficient numbers of hospital beds and oxygen supplies and would be even more overwhelmed than India if cases surged in a similar way. Africa has reported over 5 million COVID-19 cases, representing 2.9% of total cases globally. 5 African countries, Sao Tome and Principe, Morocco, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Libya, have used 90% or more of their vaccine stocks.
Well, dear viewers, that brings us to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more coming up here on Nile TV International.